Welcome back to NRL Tonight. I'm Jake Duke. Thank you so much for your company. We've got a very special guest for the second half of the show, joined by former NRL player and coach turned author, the one and only Matt Elliott. Matt, thank you so much for your time.
Always a pleasure to share your company, Jake. Looking forward to this.
You're too kind. All right, you've got a new book out. It's sitting there in front of you. Tell us about it.
Winning the second half. It's actually a little bit rugby league inspired, but it's about thriving in the second half of your life. And I guess through our exposure to high performance sport, you get a good understanding of not walking past things that many people do, like not sleeping well. If an athlete doesn't sleep well, you address it. If they don't breathe well, if they don't eat well, you address it. But so many people in the second half of their life, they don't address that sort of stuff and end up being quite miserable and unhealthy.
Well, we were joking before we came on that I'm not exactly in the second half of my life yet, I hope. But
No.
Yeah. You talked about the fact that you've taken lessons from your high-performance career. You're a coach of 265 games in the NRL. What have you kind of weaved in that you take away from high professional sport and given it to the everyday man?
Well, I think that everyone's got improvement in them, and and I'm putting my hand up here, I'm not being judgmental. We put a time limit on when that can improve till. So obviously there's physical things. I can't play footy anymore as much as I'd love to, but there are other things that I can excel in. And so many of us are programmed to think that, past 50 you're old. I certainly was. And, when I got to the 60 number, that, scared the living daylights out of me. But that's not true. You just have to reframe things and understand that I learned in high performance sport that you can make improvements in your life in different areas. So I'm committed to doing that and committed to sharing that message.
Talking about winning the second half, it's a big change and a different tack to take, right? You spent the majority of the first half of your life as a rugby league coach. Stepping into being an author now, this is your second book. What's that transition been like?
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's actually been helpful sort of cutting off the identity of what I used to do, even though I'm proud of it and it really shaped my understanding of life, is what am I going to do now? I can be proud of that. I'm not doing it anymore. So what are you going to do with your life and how do you use that expertise that you've got from all those amazing people that you got to work with? So that's probably where my focus has shifted to, and the ability to make a difference in people's lives. My business, The Change Room, we work with a lot of injured people as well as preventative stuff in big workplaces and government workplaces. So it's so inspiring to see what I learnt from young athletes and how that can be applied in those environments.
The word you used before, I liked identity, right? How difficult is it when you leave something like coaching, which is all-encompassing and takes up so much of your time, to find a new identity? Because that's what I imagine so many people struggle with.
There's a short way of answering that, Jake, is that no one's a head coach without loving it. You love the job, you love the environment, you love the people that you work with. People talk about the negative side of coaching all the time, right? But I used to go to work with 30-odd young people that wanted to get better every day. Who gets to do that? It was an extraordinary environment. So obviously when you stop being able to do something that you really love, and you have to actually find something else where to put your attention. It's not easy. It's difficult. There's a couple of guys that'll be certainly going through that at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. A big week for coaches and a little bit of killing season, right, in terms of Des Hasler gone, Adam O'Brien gone. How do you sympathise with those guys when you see those decisions made?
Well, it's funny because from the external, we're all talking about the drama around it, but we've got to remember there's a person called Des and a person called Adam and they're people. And, as I said, they aren't doing what they've been doing for the last, Des for a long time and Adam, not a short period either, because they don't like what they do. They want to make difference to people's lives and they haven't been able to get the result they're looking for. So they'll both personally will be in some level of suffering for sure.
At the other end of the scale, you've got Craig Bellamy, a guy you coached against 600 games in the NRL this weekend, 600 games at the one club as well. How special is what Craig Bellamy's been able to achieve and create at the Melbourne Storm?
I think extraordinary is probably the only word I have for Craig, like a great person. Everyone has this preconceived idea of what Craig's like because they see him in the coaching box. He's not like that at all. He's such a good person, so wise, and there's a fair bit of evidence he knows how to get the best out of people, isn't there? His ability to focus on people's strengths. I always say that you've got a kid and they get 3 A's, a B, and an F. What are you talking to your kid about? Most people are talking about the F. Craig has a way of, of talking to his players about their A's and making their A's even better. And I just find him as, such an inspiring character as well.
There's 4 teams in the top 4, one of them being the Melbourne Storm. The other 3 are teams that you coached in your coaching career. I'm sure you're taking the credit for setting those foundations a long, long time ago.
No, the only reason they're there is because I'm not there.
I want to start with, first of all, the Canberra Raiders. You spent a lot of time at the Raiders. Looking for their first minor premiership and their first premiership in, 35 years or longer almost. What do you think that would mean to the people of Canberra, to Ricky Stewart, to the entire organisation, what they've been able to achieve so far this year and what they're hoping to achieve?
I think that the way that Ricky's engaged the community in the time that he's been there is really evident because of the crowds and the way that even the Viking clap and all that sort of stuff. It's so good to see that turnaround. It would mean a lot to that community. My daughter still lives in Canberra, and her and her partner are just avid Raiders fans, like everyone around that area. So it's a really special thing to see, and the style of footy they play at the moment, I just love it.
Penrith, when you're at Penrith, you had some lean years there. But what they've done now, shooting for a 6 straight grand final and 5 straight premierships, incredible. But what have you made of Ivan's decision this week to rest 16 players and say we're going to shoot from the bottom 4?
Well, firstly, I just think Ivan never gets acknowledged for being the extraordinary coach that he is. I scratch my head. They've made the last 5 grand finals and won 4 of them. I reckon it's a really astute decision. And you can look at it in 2 ways. People can complain about it and why they're doing that, but obviously they're key players. They're cooked. They've done a lot of, from rep footy through, like the last 5 years has been tough on them. So he's put a lot of accountability on them for giving them a rest, but we also get to see who's coming next at the Panthers. So I think it's a really smart decision. It gives them the best opportunity to play well in semi-final footy.
Just finally, the Warriors, you spent some time there as well. The Wars movement that we've seen, you make the argument they're the best fans in the competition, and there is a real opportunity right now for New Zealand Rugby League to just continue to keep growing, right?
Absolutely, and I think they really need to look to expand into New Zealand, more than one team personally. But what they've achieved as an organisation there in recent times, I find mind-blowing. I wish I could have been part of that movement, but the way that they've engaged the community and is through the style of footy they play as well. It's really entertaining footy. Yeah, they've done a great job.
Well, Matty, it's been great to have you on and talking some coaching, talking footy, but the book, Winning the Second Half, where can people get a copy and when can they come and see you to talk about it?
Yeah, well, we'll be doing it live, so they can go to the changeroom.info website and they can get the book there, or they can go to Amazon, Booktopia. It's all online. There's also a Kindle version and soon to be an Audible version, which you'll have to listen to me for way too much.
All right, well, you're going to give me that copy you said, and I'm going to read it in 8 or so years' time when I'm in the second half, hopefully.
We'll just help those other people in your life, mate, that may be more.
Yeah, I'll pass it on.
You're getting close to the halftime shares, let's put it that way.
Matty Elliott, so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us on NRL Tonight.
Pleasure, Jake.